This is
Purple Radio.
Hello and welcome. You are listening to Killing Kermode on Purple Radio, the student film review and cinema discussion show.
The main topic of today is documentaries. We'll be discussing what they are, how they differ from other things like docudramas, and some of our favourites and some of the more popular titles.
The Academy are notoriously terrible when it comes to documentaries. A lot of really famous big documentaries haven't been nominated. Senna is a good example. Grizzly Man is another great example. And the reasons are just really stupid. Like, Grizzly Man wasn't nominated because they said it contained too much stock footage, when in actual fact, at least half of the film is not stock footage. So you can tell that most of the Academy members obviously didn't watch it. They used to actually, at the Academy Awards, they used to have this thing they did where when they would screen it for Academy members, when they got bored of the film, the Academy members would shine a torch on the screen, and when more than half of the torches had been shone onto the screen, they would just turn the film off. So it goes to show like how bad the Academy are. They don't even watch a lot of the films all the way through.
Is that, do you think, necessitous for a documentary, though, that it has to have a purpose and message that perhaps feature film might want to, but doesn't necessarily have to have? The documentary has a perhaps didactic purpose?
Well, I'd say the best documentaries, generally, they do have a message and they do tell a strong story, just like any film.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was going to say, for me, any film has to have a message, not just a documentary.
Okay.
If it has nothing that it wants to tell me, if I leave the cinema the same as when I went in, it's a bad film.
This is Purple Radio.
Purple Radio.
I'd like to start with the first one we started watching, and that was Sam's first choice, which was The Thing.
Yes.
I think we can sum up the plot in a sentence. It's something is on an Antarctic base. And I mean, if you don't know anything about The Thing, I think to say more ruins it.
Give us an introduction to why you chose the film, what you like about it.
Well, I chose the film because, along with Alien, a frequent name that we bring up in this show, The Thing is probably the cornerstone of the subgenre of science fiction horror. It is considered by John Carpenter to be his best, most personal film, and I think there are many people out there who would agree. John Carpenter of body horror and science fiction horror fame, with things like Village of the Damned.
Okay then, Christian, let's hear your take on it first then.
Overall, I come up positive. I wasn't scared, though, which is always disappointing in a horror film. And I think that definitely the star of the film were the special effects. Probably some of the best special effects I've ever seen. No CGI, all animatronics, puppets. I don't know how they do it. It's amazing.
Well, it was made partly with Stan Winston's help. They say special thanks to Stan Winston, but actually it was made by one of his contemporaries, Rob Bottin. If Stan Winston did the big, epic animatronic special effects that we all know and love, then Rob Bottin was probably more famous for some of the more sort of low-key, sickly, disgusting kind of stuff. And it may not be scary, but if you don't have the stomach for gore, The Thing is not the film for you.
Yeah, they're just some really amazing things that I've never seen before on film. The effects definitely were the highlight for me. I don't want to describe them because I feel like I might ruin it for people.
And I'm not sure you can really do them justice because a lot of them are so very visceral and visual. I mean, I do agree the standout thing is the body horror aspect of the film. Having said that, you brought up you didn't find it scary. I didn't find it scary so much, but I did find it creepy. And I think I actually prefer that in a horror film, to kind of have a palpable sense of dread about it. Because I do think it does do the suspense. And actually, I think the two main factors, apart from the body horror aspect and the monstrous aspect, as the sense of claustrophobia and the sense of paranoia.
Yeah, paranoia is the big thing in the film because the men, they start distrusting each other incredibly because they don't know who's a real human being or who is the thing.
This is
Purple Radio.
The thing that I think makes Akira Kurosawa a great filmmaker, though, is the visual panache. Now, the majority of the films are in black and white, and what I think he relies on in those cases are composition primarily, the way cameras move up and down the frame and stuff. Ikaru is actually a good example of that, the way they kind of move around in the shot or remain stationary. He just seems to have an eye of making the frame a picture, and then it's like you're watching artwork. I mean, Ran, actually, I'm going to pick out as one that actually goes beyond that because it's one of his colour films. And it's like he was holding back for years on the colour, because what you get are wonderfully colour-coded armies. There's two ones that stick out. One is kind of the Red Army, you know, decked out on one side of a wonderfully green field surrounded by forest, and then the sky in the background. So you've got blue, red, green, and then it flips over, and you've got the kind of light blue army on the other side that's kind of blending with the sky, and they run across each other, and then things start to blacken, and then the purple army arrives on the hill.
Well, he had made a number of colour films before that, hadn't he?
Yes, but
he kind of had a sort of mini resurgence in the 80s because he did Kagemusha and Ran.
Kagemusha very much seen as the trial run for Ran. Ran had been in the work for a long time and he wanted to make sure he could technically do it. In fact, Ran's battle scenes were so kind of wonderful that Steven Spielberg used them as base point reference for the opening D-Day landings in Saving Private Ryan.
Okay. One director, maybe, are you familiar with him? Yasujiro Otsu?
I know the name. I've not actually seen any of his work.
Tokyo Story is the only one of his films I've seen.
Yes.
It's widely considered like one of the best films ever. I'm not sure I fully got it, so I'm going to watch it again at some point. But very different in that what you were saying about Kurosawa moving the camera about being technically very strong. What he does is he never moves the camera. It's always completely still.
Really?
For example, in Tokyo Story, it only moves once in the entire film. Okay. So he has these long shots where the camera is just completely stationary. Kind of gives it that theatrical air we were talking about with Anna Karenina earlier.
This is Purple Radio.
Is Purple Radio.
It strikes me that most of the issues of contention here obviously relate to appropriacy to children.
The BBFC's take on violence is that in a 12 film or a 12A rated film, moderate violence is allowed but should not dwell on detail.
Well, you see, what is moderate? Moderate is a completely, vague intensifier.
Well, there should be no emphasis on injuries or blood, but occasional gory moments may be permitted if justified in context.
So, but what's an occasional gory moment? So, extended gory moments, no, and what's too much emphasis?
It's subjective, of course, and they screen all the films to a board, and it depends. I mean, you could read about the graphic content in a film, and it would look more unpleasant than it really is.
Do join us on Facebook. Write in your listeners' picks. Hillbeat tonight, Lincoln, and then at the weekend, Les Mis. So hopefully we'll see you there. I think it's time to sign off. Very sadly.
Purple Radio. Turn us on.
You know you want to.